Hello, parents, children, and teachers. And this encompasses everyone because teachers are everyone in society. When we do anything, when we react a certain way, we are teaching those around us that this is the norm. The Study School has had its series of webinars where we are talking about staying connected and learning. And today we have our third edition, which is Technology and Children, How Much is Too Much? We have with us two wonderful guests, wonderful not just because they're great human beings doing lots for society, wonderful because I've known them for many decades and I am uh, in a sense a fan because they've both been so dynamic and fantastic. So let me introduce you to Ruchi Malhotra Malkhani. Ruchi has been a former Miss India, a Femina Miss India. She was also in campaigns like Lux and Lyral and many other advertising campaigns which were iconic in those times. As times change, a very handsome model who she once met, who went on to become a tech guru, the editor of NDTV Technology, Rajiv Makhni. He decided that together they could have a different path. So, of course, marriage and a new life where Ruchi is now working on some webinars which might be upcoming in the near future. And of course, right now in COVIDian times, Ruchi, we're going to hear from you how life has been. Rajiv Makhni, of course, you know, is India's cell guru and gadget guru. And other than that, his radio show has been such a rage that there are more than 4 crore listeners. And you know, like you have Netflix original. Well, now we have Rajiv Makhni original on YouTube. So really, those are many firsts that you've managed, Rajiv. Thank you so much to you both for being here with us.
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you so much for having us. Of course, every time you've been doing this, there must be so many people that are getting introduced to your guests, but no one introduces you. So while you've done almost all the perfect introduction to the two of us, I'm going to do an introduction to you. I'm sure many people who actually are looking at this and have tuned in and are looking at this know you as the director of the school, know you as a very hardworking person, know you as the person who's doing about 27 webinars a day. But other than that, what they may not know is that you're also an ex-Miss India. So that's the part which is, and the dead giveaway of that, and this is to everybody out there who's watching it, usually if you find somebody, a woman with 3 names, as in Ruchi, Makhni, Shivani, Wazir, Pasrich, most probably they are a Miss India. So that's the dead giveaway that could well be a way for you to work out. So all you young children who are aspiring to actually do that, make sure you add a third name.
Rajiv, that was a very flattering introduction, and I know why. Because technology and children, and you're the technology person, we are the mums, and we're out with our guns to get you. So you're just making sure that we soften that attack. But Ruchi, I'm going to ask you firstly, you married Rajiv. And he married you. But are you his second wife? Are his gadgets the first wives? This is what I need to know.
Oh my God, we never thought questions will come. I thought it was with kids, yeah.
Good question. I also want to know the answer to this.
I'm always going to be first, Shivani. There is no I'm going to be second to anything. That I have, from the very beginning, the days we were dating, I knew this guy is obsessed with technology, and I have, we never used to go for. I mean, we used to go for dates, which are those typical candlelit dinners and all that. But I've actually gone with him for trade fairs of technology, where I've gone for car fairs, I've gone for so many things. And I said, this guy is demented. In fact, if I tell you what was my first gift from him, I didn't like. Maybe he really never had a girlfriend, but of course he had lots of girlfriends before me. And he gave me a juicer, which was like in 3-in-1 or something, which was, he said, this is for health, and this is, it can do this, and I can do this. And I said, I can also throw on your head, because this is not a gift to your girlfriend. But it was amazing, because that's just the way he is. He's always been into this. It's like, he's like a little boy who enters a shop and he sees all the toys and chocolates. And Rajiv is like that when he enters a gadget shop. He's always been like that. So I married him knowing that. And
despite knowing that, she
it's amazing. That's his passion, and I love it. Though I am totally not into technology, I must say. In fact, I would say I'm technology challenged, but I'm very happy with it. I know how to make calls, I know how to return calls, and I know how to be happy with that. But just because this is passion and he loves it, I love it, because after all, passion drives you, right? And that
Yeah.
gives you something to look forward to life. And it's ever changing, which I really can't keep up to it. It's like by the time you learn one phone, the new phone is out. So it's like it's just too much for me. But he is, as I said, he's like ever evolving. He's so revolutionary in his thought process. Like I just love it, and that's why he's just enjoying, and that's why a lot of people come and say the way your husband speaks on shows or something, it's so simple, and it's like literally he's sitting in a drawing room and telling us how this works and how that works, because he just gets too much into how a person who doesn't have any knowledge about technology will how would he like to understand.
He's had practice at home, huh?
But I
And
always
when you talk about the gifts,
that is only first wife. There is no
but when you talk about the
my
first gift, your first big gift being a juicer, let me tell you, Amir's first gift to me was a little portable kettle with 2 cups in it, because I used to host the travel show Namaste India. So I think maybe when boys give you technology, it means you're for keeps. है ना? Well, speaking of boys giving technology, Rajiv, I want to ask you, you are the mouthpiece of technology and the latest and the best and the evolution for your own children. You have a 6-year-old son, Arman, and your daughter is 16. So when did you hand them their first device? What was it?
Shivani, it's a very interesting question. In my maybe top 3 list of questions that I am asked, and another thing which isn't talking about is my life is basically spent answering people's questions, because even when we're out socially for dinner and otherwise, people do come up and they keep talking about.
I know my computer's bought with your recommendation. My phone is bought with your recommendation.
And so that's exactly, besides kaun sa mobile kharide and kaun sa TV kharide, this is the third question that I'm asked the most, is when should we give our children devices? When should I give my child a phone? The peer pressure of moms coming up to me and saying, my daughter's 9 and already she says all her friends in her class already have a phone. How do I give my 9-year-old a phone? It's a very, very tough question, because you almost seem to think of that as some kind of a line drawn in the sand. Once you give them the device is when they will actually get unleashed into the world of the big bad wolf of technology and the unknown. But I think it's actually a very simple question to actually answer, and we've done this at home, and I hope that this can even help other people. The question shouldn't really be when you should give the child the device, because that will actually be a matter of many different situations and circumstances that will come together. Sometimes the pressure will come at 9, sometimes it will come at 11, sometimes it may not come till 12. It depends a lot on the situation and circumstances around the child. The question to ask is, when you give the device, what do you actually ask your child to do with it, right? If you can ask that child to be not a consumer of content, but a creator of content, you're actually doing a service to that child. Because today, with the kind of things that are available, look, we all come from a generation where we first had all kind of analog devices, then we went digital. So we've seen that transformation. Today's children are born into a digital world, right? So whether you call them Gen Z or you call them whatever term is great, they have no intimidation of technology, right? I mean, their first toy is usually a phone. They touched it, the screen lit up, and they went, wow, right? So there's no intimidation, there's nothing. They don't, unlike us who thought that they could actually spoil something by touching it too much, they love experimenting with technology. And the kind of apps now, from the TikToks to the Instagrams to the Snapchats, the kind of level of creation of technology, creation of content you can do. So when you hand over that device to the child, inculcate the fact that you must create and let others consume, and you consume as less as possible and you create as much. You're going to be creating an incredible human being, because that person then realizes the power of putting in the effort, putting in the hard work, and becoming a creator. And that will stay for the rest of their life. So the question is not what is the right age, because there is no right age. The question is, what do you do with that device and what do you teach them?
So, Ruchi, are your kids doing online classes?
Yes, yeah.
And how's that going?
Well, the thing is, as you said, the kids are born in digital world. They adapt very well. And in fact, Amaya and Arman both have classes on Monday to Friday. And of course, Arman has three classes with breaks in between. And Amaya, of course, has regular school from 8 to 2:30. And
Have you noticed any behavioral changes with them being on online classes?
I think when you talk about screen time, when you are doing something educational, when you are under supervision, whether it's a parent or a teacher, I would say it's not bad. It's the afterwards what we do is okay. It's like now today the television or the iPads and the phones have become like those baby pacifiers. When the baby's crying, "Acha chalo muh mein pacifier dal do," they'll be quiet. So they're crying, they're cranky. They just okay. We are tired, and we're like okay, take the iPad and spend some time. That is really wrong. That is what I believe in. That's wrong. But if we are under supervision or under like a teacher is doing conducting a class, or it's 1-to-1, or even if they are doing 30 children, I think it's not bad because considering the times we are in, we have to adapt. I mean, what is the child supposed to do at home because they have
So
to come.
yours are 6 and 16. Ours are 2, 3, and 4 at the study school, and we're doing virtual classes. But in our virtual classes, we've incorporated some physical elements. For example, we have a yoga session, or we have a science session. Now you'll wonder what is science for little kids, but we actually do scientific thinking. Like they make their own games, they play their own games, they experiment with products and see what the outcome of that is. Even the primary colors, then to make them secondary, they mix the colors. One of the parents took jugs of different colored water and had the child mix them. So science really brought alive in very unique ways. But I have some questions from the parents, so I'm going to start.
Before you start with that question, I have some very strong thoughts on online learning, and especially when you're talking about very young children. You know, this may come out as a little harsh, but something I feel very strongly about. I think the single greatest problem with online classes is if the teachers themselves are not familiar with the technology that they are using. And I see the failure of most online classes when most of the time a teacher not knowing that on a Zoom or a Microsoft team or any other video platform, you have control, but they've not learned the controls. For instance, I see a lot of teachers that are taking classes and they're constantly asking children to be quiet. Look, you have the control to mute everybody,
Mute them.
control each other. But you'll be shocked as to how few teachers actually put in the effort to actually know that part, and how many parents actually do it. Because you actually have a child, and usually when the child is very young, I'm sure this happens with your school, the parent more or less has to sit with the child,
Yes.
even though off camera, right? Because
Yes.
you've got to be there to put in the password. A lot of schools are not putting in recurring meetings. Every time they're putting in a new meeting and a new password, which is extremely difficult. You can just put in a recurring meeting. That makes things in life so easy. A Zoom meeting will actually happen automatically. You just type in that and it will automatically come up and you're in. I know people think it's a safety precaution that you shouldn't do it, but you totally can, because it's completely protected and you should. But again, many schools and many teachers have not learned that. The second thing is parents that are sitting with the child don't know about mute and unmute, and they're constantly having phone calls off camera, which is really, really disturbing the rest of the class. So most of the class, the teacher is only trying to control the audio levels of what is being taught, and be quiet, who's that, who's talking, whose father's talking. I think it's a 30-minute class and 29 minutes are spent on that. That's when it gets extremely frustrating. I would really urge all teachers, in the same way as you have high standards of education and you have to learn that, you should also learn every aspect. There are unbelievably fantastic teachers in video and distance learning, but you need to know those platforms and those features well. And I see at the present moment, it's not being done very, very well. I sometimes get very frustrated sitting with my child and seeing some of the classes that are conducted.
You know, Rajiv, this is an eye-opener for me, because on our online classes, I was already familiar with the Zoom platform, and I sort of had a little session with the teachers. One of the things I told them is, in your childhood, you might have been sleeping with a fan going on, jukuk, jukuk, jukuk. I said, your voice in an online class needs to be like that. It needs to engage the child. It has to be a hum and a drum that makes them come into what you're saying. You have to realize you're in their face, in their ears. So that's the first thing I said. And our teachers learned share screen very early in the day. So even when they were telling stories, there were lots of visuals that were being shared with the children. And like before we would have the Zoom session, even now we have a little document which goes out with photographs and images of, suppose you need a scissor, or you need a glue stick, or you need a paper. So we inform them. Plus the curriculum is shared every week, and then a daily curriculum, a reminder, because no parent wants to go through 7 days of curriculum to know what's going on. So at the study school, we've tried to do our best, but this is an eye-opener. I want to ask you a question. This concern about Zoom being a platform that makes you vulnerable, how valid is that? And now that we're talking about really be Indian, buy Indian, which is the option which is equally good?
First and foremost, I think that's a misnomer. This entire thought process of be Indian, buy Indian, be vocal about local and all of that, these are great for politics, but everywhere else, I think it's just the worst way of thinking. Because look, even if you look at it in terms of, oh, don't buy anything Chinese, I'd love to know, when something gets tweeted out today and suddenly, I wrote about a particular phone that was getting launched, and it's a phone that is much awaited by a lot of people. I got about 2,000 to 3,000 people saying, why are you writing about a Chinese phone? They brought the virus in. Well, first and foremost, that particular company didn't bring a virus in. Number two, there are no products that are made in any country, anywhere in the world where something, look, we are in a completely and totally global world, right? The universe is a global village. I cannot think of any product in the world, even if it's software, even if it's what we're using right now, where the coding may have been done. Zoom coding has been done to a great extent by Indians. So why is this not an Indian product? Products that are made in India, many phones, 90% of phones sold in India are make in India phones, but people are, oh my God, I'm never ever going to buy a Chinese phone. I'd love to understand which phone in this world from which brand is either not made from Chinese components or not made in China, irrespective of whether it's an Apple or a Samsung, any phone, right? And the other part of it is the Make in India campaign. Hundreds and thousands of Indians are now being employed and their salaries come from there. When you're rejecting something based on the fact that it's not local and Make in India is only assembly, you're rejecting those hundreds and thousands of people whose salaries are paid out there. So this is a misnomer for me in every which way. Let's not fall into this trap that it's only.
That's Ruchi's way of saying, answer the question. Zoom safe, Zoom not safe.
Sent a message.
Yeah. So I think in every which way, we should just embrace the best product in its category, irrespective of where it comes from. Every country is going through the COVID virus. It's not really isolated to one or two. Every person and every human being is suffering. Let's be very clear that we've got to go with the best product. There's nothing about going Indian. It's not nationalistic to think that you're going to use an Indian product, because you may just be hurting somebody who is contributing and is an Indian.
Well, that's a thought. Rajiv, we also need to hear you louder. So either if you can up your volume in some way, or maybe get closer to the machine. So I'm going to now switch to some questions that are being asked of you.
Okay.
What will be the future of education? Will it go the tech way, doing away with conventional classrooms? Or has this crisis proven how the conventional method is a better option? This is Arman's mum, Shalini. These are former studyites.
Okay, Arman's mom, Shalini, hi, how are you doing? I hope you've tuned in. I'm sure both of us have perspectives on it. I'm going to quickly give mine. I always think distance education has been fantastic, and it's been an eye-opener. In rural India, it was being used for a very, very long time. Fantastic ways of education have been perfected out there. I think it's being done better there than it's being done here right now, because they've absolutely perfected the course. I think one of the things that we have to understand is that you can't take something that is offline, just uproot it and think it's working perfectly online. You have to tweak it, you have to convert it, you have to make sure that it actually is adapted for this platform. And this is a platform that will 100% be the future. And I have a feeling that there may come a time where school time may become shorter, because you'll go to school for certain things and come back a little earlier because you have online classes that may well be even better than doing a one-to-one. What about
Okay,
you?
so
I think, that it's very important. The conventional way is very important. A child needs social interaction. A child, when you said you're doing yoga classes, I am totally against doing yoga on just 1 inch box, because any form of exercise needs a lot of supervision.
A
You
little
have
better.
to, you have to have, your form correct, your posture correct. Be not yoga, be any exercise, normal jumping jacks or whatever. And small children, especially if you're talking from 2 to let's say 8, they just want, either if you have to do high jumps, they probably will be just doing normal jumps, and they can hurt themselves. Not everybody is equipped with a good solid grounding where you can land on the floor and not hurt your knees. So all these things are important. And school is just not for studies. School actually gives you your personality, it develops you. You meet friends, you make friends, you interact, you learn how to share. Those normal etiquettes you teach your children at 5 years. After that, that's put onto test once you start going to school. So I am really missing school. My son is 6, so he really misses. He doesn't have a support system like we have. I'm missing somebody. I pick up a phone and call. He's nobody. I mean, in the sense, like, he has to call, ask me, Mama, can I talk to someone? We're not giving a phone to him right now, and he's dependent on us for his frustrations to be let out or meet his friends and all. There is no way we are going out. The school, I think, is very essential for a child, and it's just not studies, it's everything. It's like how you make them a global citizen. That's what school is responsible. They spend 14 years there. But yes, as he said, that maybe online classes can give one-to-one. I mean, and like my daughter, she's 16. I know they play a lot of pranks in class, but now with online classes, the teacher is speaking and they are just listening. So they are actually delivering whatever teachers wants to deliver, and they're actually also are listening, grasping, and performing. So there is a difference there. So I don't know. I hope these times finish fast and we can all go back to being normal. And I would say that because we are in this situation, we appreciate what.
my daughter Aisha has a class called they have base group where they do life skills, and she had to do a presentation on the virus. And when you spoke about you're waiting for schools to open, at the end, the outcome of this coronavirus, she said how people are professing their love for each other, how children are dying to go back to school. So that was quite the thing. But also, Ruchi, when you mentioned about the exercising, there are levels and levels of doing it. One level is to stretch your arms up, touch your toes, go to the sides, and the other, of course, is your level of excellence, because I know you're quite a fitness enthusiast. So asking you about how in these corona times are you keeping your children's fitness going? How, when they are having to do online classes and be with their gadgets for entertainment, see their television, watch their shows, be entertained by TikToks and memes and all of that, where then and how does that physical thing come, and how can other parents also incorporate that in their children's lives?
See, the best thing, if you have not everybody is blessed and have the luxury of having a home gym, but of course you can incorporate a lot of PT exercises. You can exercise with your child. You say, come on, let's do jhadu pocha together. Otherwise, you can do things like simple jumping jacks, simple touching, stretching here and there, or teach them something, or maybe become a student and let the child teach you, because that's what they really love. They love role reversals. Okay, Mama, I'm going to tell you this, and then, like, just today in the morning, Arman was waking up Amaya and saying, come on, it's 8:30, we need to exercise, we need to finish, and we'll
Yeah, we
be
need
free.
to work out. He even loves the
Work out, and then we'll be free, that girl said. So we said, who's the girl? She said, exercise girl. So they'll be watching some YouTube channels and exercising with her. Now that is educational, it's something teaching, it's fine. But then that's what we do. We play badminton together. Then my son is a big helper. He loves helping me around in the house. So those kind of things, and simple exercises. I'm not saying do Surya Namaskars. I'm just saying just do normal stretching, or what the things what we do with our son. And Amaya, of course, is independent and she knows a lot of exercises. But just incorporating everything what you do on daily thing, that come, let's do 5 jumping jacks, or let's just do normal jumps, or let's do high knees, or let's just, can you touch your toe, things like that. But not what I've seen on what the Zoom classes of yoga and all that. They're saying, okay, do this, do that, and the child is not able to see.
I'm going to have you log into one of ours. Because we actually have lovely ma'am saying your mama is calling you now, so please pick up the phone and talk to her. And now it's time for your papa to talk to you, so please talk to your papa on the other phone. And so the kids manage in quite cute and innovative ways. Rajiv, so
I think one of the good things is that you actually have a ma'am called Lovely Ma'am. That's a good start. Lovely class then, right? I mean, literally, it's lovely, the class, right? Yeah, that's
it
good.
really is. But when you're talking about Arman saying, let's work out, is it because that's the inspiration he got from you? So, how much of your day is dedicated to fitness and how much to your gadgetry, your work?
Both Ruchi and I have been into fitness since we know each other. It was one of the things that I think also brought us together, that we both did share that as not something that we wanted just because it makes you look a little bit better, but it was something that was really deeply, it resonated deeply within us. So both Ruchi and I, like she said, we work towards it. So we have a gym at home, a very well equipped gym at home. And I have always believed that fitness is always about consistency and not about quantity, right? It is the quality of what you can do. So I have this strange thought process, and lots of people call me slightly, insane for what I'm about to say. But whenever I say it, I get this same reaction. So a lot of people will say the same thing. I believe that if you can truly, truly break a workout into science and technology, and I've used that in this also, 29 minutes scientifically working out every single day without a break. You can sometimes take a break, maybe on a Sunday, or the seventh day or whatever day you're working out. And this is including my, at one time, before the COVIDian times, as you called it, I travel about 10 days in a month, right?
Yeah.
I'm mostly out of the country about 10 days in a month. This includes my travel also. So whether I'm in a hotel or otherwise, it's 29 minutes. I try not to do, when I do 30 minutes, I'm very disappointed with myself that I did not put in the right focus and effort. But it's this 29 minutes of a workout, a year on year, day on day, month on month, week on week, that I believe has kept me going. And I also believe that it's this consistency that has kept my fitness going. Because I think the biggest burden you take on in your life is when you have a 1 hour workout, 1 hour, 45-minute workout. You have to go to a gym, you have to drive, you have to make some social conversations. You take 30 minutes to drive, 10 minutes to get in, 30 minutes of talking, 1.5 hours workout. That's 3 hours of your life.
Yeah.
If you know that you're going to be in and out of a gym in 29 minutes, you literally never ever stop. You
So
never
I think
ever.
that's an amazing message for the parents, because when we talk about technology and children, we are focusing on how to deny the technology, but actually the focus should be on how to enhance the life skills and incorporate fitness and physical experiences outside of technology, or rather incorporating technology in the scientific workout as well. Rajiv, the next question is from Manpreet Kaur. How can we possibly strike a balance with technology for children in the sense of making them aware but not dependent? So, is there a concept today that exists where you are not dependent on technology?
So, it's a tough one, because that fine line gets crossed very, very quickly. You think you're doing one thing and it has a separate effect. But I'll tell you something that me and Ruchi have done in our house, and it has worked. And I must tell you that this comes from an anecdote about Steve Jobs, right? The Apple CEO at one time, who passed away. When the iPad was invented, he did an interview with a journalist on a phone, I think, and the iPad was at that time the single greatest thing. It was the thing, the next big thing. They said everybody who will own a phone will own an iPad, and it looked like it was about to happen. And at that time, Steve Jobs said something very unique. He said, the journalist asked him, what iPad do your children have? And he says, I don't really let my children use an iPad. So
Steve Jobs said that.
it's actually documented. It's in many books. It's an anecdote that if you parents that are watching it right now, you can actually do Steve Jobs, iPad, children, you will get this anecdote. So the person who invented this technology, and literally the iPad was something he did. It was one of his most favorite passion projects. Already knew the addictive nature of what he's created. And therefore, he himself was not letting his children use this. From within this, there is a learning. We can't go to that extent because he was a person that went to extremes. But I think the one thing that me and Ruchi have done, and we've been slightly successful in it, is we call it screen time. We basically have told our children, whether it's a phone, whether it's TV, whether it's a laptop, whether it's an iPad, irrespective of what you're using, it's a screen. And you have a certain amount of time. We usually started off at 90 days. In this COVID time, we've had to extend it, obviously, and we're not looking at education as counted. We basically ask them to use up 90 minutes in a day in whichever way they would want, on whichever screen they want. Beyond that, they can't use a screen. And if you do this from the very beginning, it's a tough one. Believe me, it's a very, very tough thing. But if you do this from the very beginning, that's when you inculcate the fact that technology, screens, devices, the black mirror of our life is something that is used, that actually encourages usage, and you do it in a constructive manner. Then it doesn't matter what those 90 minutes or 120 minutes are used for. You use it knowing it's restricted, and you just don't think of abusing it because you want to use it to the best of its ability and have fun using it. It's a tough one. Lots of people say that's impossible for us to do, but believe me, it's not. You can.
Ruchi, I'll ask you here. Arman is 6. I'm sure he listens. Amira is 16. What do? You say, give me your phone now? She hands it over after those 90 minutes?
Night when she sleeps, when it's time to say goodnight, the phone is in my room. There is no way she's allowed to use the phone afterward. Like, there's no way I'm going to my room to sleep and she's on the phone. So
she deleted Instagram.
She's deleted Instagram, and Rajiv's, because some technology is put in the house at around 10 o'clock or 10:30, the entire Wi-Fi system shuts off on its own. So there's no way one can do. I mean, and Arman, surprisingly, he understands, but he doesn't understand. TV, he wants to go to the phone because he loves watching. He keeps going through photographs, but he listens. And there are a lot of things you can do when you say a child, okay, screen time is. If you say screen time is allowed for 2 hours, then they will. But you have to finish these things. Like, we do have family dinners and lunches now. Of course, we have all meals together. Earlier, it was just a dinner or a lunch. Now we talk a lot. We explain to them.
And no phones and devices are allowed at dinner time, and no phones and devices are allowed into family conversations. These are 2 places where we always ask that you do not carry it. And the most important thing is that when you make a rule like this, you stick to it. I see a lot of parents that demand this of their children, but then they bring their phone to dinner, they bring their phone to lunch. So, you're setting such a hugely disappointing example.
Children don't follow words, they follow examples. Like, if I'm going to smoke a cigarette, I can't tell my child, please don't smoke, it's bad for your health. So that follows. I mean, even if they're going to watch us binging on Netflix and all that, they're just going to say, how are you allowed and we are not allowed, So
that's true. That's true. So I think a lot of parents' questions have been about devices and how to wean their kids away from them. We'll come to those. But right now we've got a question from Kavita Puri Arora, a 3-named lady. What is your opinion on online or distance learning for kids with learning disabilities?
So, I think it's, in my answer previously, I was about to say that there are limitations, right? And I believe that that is one of the single greatest challenges. I think, Shivani, you and your school is doing a great job, because the other one is to actually do it for very, very young children. So the way you describe the classes that you're running, that is fantastic, because it's one of the biggest challenges. But this is a challenge that is further great technology is going to change it around, when we have a little bit more of virtual reality, a little bit more where it's not a flat screen in front of us, but it's going to be a little bit more where it's more immersive. That's when I believe that we will be able to overcome. Right now, I have to tell Kavita that this is a very tough challenge because of the inherent problem that actually comes within. And I don't see any real easy way out. It comes down to the same as even on a one-to-one. You will have challenges, but they are that much more comfortable with real human interaction and real, the hug that they get at the end of it all, and everything else. It's a tough one.
But there are some institutions which are doing, it's called occupational therapists, right? They are conducting classes where they tell you, there is obviously a lot of parent supervision required. In fact, one of the parent has to sit there and they tell you, like suppose a child has fine motor problem, or I don't know what problems, like just say any, I'm talking the very simple one, fine or motor. So simple things in Rajma Nikalo, bowl में से या clay को दबाओ, things like that, but that needs adult supervision. Those are simple things. There are people who are doing that, and of course it is tough, but there obviously people will tweak it around and find a solution for those children as well.
So, Ruchi, a lot of these fine motor skill development activities are incorporated in curriculums. And Rajiv, let me give you that very special hug which these children need. One to you too, Ruchi. So this is how my morning begins with the virtual learning program at the study school. It starts with one hand here, the other hand here, and my big hug to the students. So, well, moving on to the next question, because we have a number of them and we are running out of time. My question from today's guest is, why do eyes water? What is causing my daughter Tarini to have watery eyes with just 15-20 minutes of watching television? Does it indicate that she has an eye infection, or what is causing it? It happens only while watching television. I introduced her to this when she was 2 years, 2 months, and now she's 2 years, 6 months.
Okay. So I'll tell you what, this actually is something that a lot of eye doctors have been speaking about, and it's a big problem, and it's something that is going to be something that needs to work on. First and foremost, the television part, and then I'll come down to the blue light problem of all our devices, something everyone should be aware of. With television, what really happens is that because the child is focusing, and usually they're watching, very young child is watching extremely bright colors, cartoons and other such things, because that is the content they are really consuming. They're not blinking their eyes. They get completely and totally seduced by the images on the screen. They get hypnotized is the word. Hypnotized is the word that really happens. They get completely hypnotized by the characters, by the story, and they're not blinking their eyes. And by not blinking their eyes dry out, and therefore red eyes and all the other problems. And not blinking your eye when you're watching television for a very long time can actually lead to a lot of eye problems and serious ones. So it's one of the things that you have to actually tell your child, or get them to take breaks. You can have a small little egg
20,
timer.
20 minutes watch something, and then go out and watch something at 20 meters apart from you, or blink your eyes. Those eye games,
you have to make a game.
Take a pencil and take it back. So that's been promoted by a lot of schools and a lot of organizations, and even doctors saying that because you people are spending, and that goes even for adults, obviously, because we are also a lot a lot of
we're
parents,
watching too much cartoons.
No, but people are on Facebook or on Instagram. People love putting these pictures that everybody is sitting on gadget. That's like, oh, everybody's so busy even in lockdown because everybody's on a gadget. But it just shows that we all have gadgets and we all are not spending time with each other. We're not communicating with each other. We rather be on the device than to be. The social interaction should also come with the gadgets. Right?
Yes. Ruchi, one of the things they say is that we parent as we were parented. So when you spoke about that pen going back and forth, I was reminded of my childhood. We were always told to do these exercises, ruler ko follow karo, pen ko follow karo.
We've never had so many distractions when we grew up. And at that time, mothers were always at home, fathers were working. So we always had someone. Now, because we all are together and we all have been together for so long, so we're bound to say like, I need a break, please go watch TV. But
so Ruchi, speaking of togetherness, I need you to be more together with Rajiv so that you're closer to your machine and your voice is louder. Okay, moving on to the next question. We have, this is being asked by Neha, who's Mivan's mum. And she says, I've tried a lot to make dinner time family time, but it's very hard to make him eat without the TV set on. And if he doesn't have television, he skips the meal. So my husband and I are both working. And considering we are all working from the house these days, it's very difficult to avoid phones or laptops around us. So how can we make the children stay away from the screen, because they observe and pick up so much?
Yeah. So, in this again, both of us have a very strong opinion on this. Meal time and the dinner table, I think, should be almost declared sacred. Nothing else will inculcate a sense of family values than that space. And therefore, and I'm really sorry if again it comes out harsh, but I've been saying this for many, many years. The minute you say, my child is no longer willing to eat unless I prop up a phone in front of him or her. Hi, Arman, come and say hi.
Hey, Arman, we want to say hello to you.
Say hi.
Hi.
Lots and lots of
Hi.
your
I didn't know
age.
you were so handsome. I had only known your name. You know, I knew your mama when she was Femina Miss India. And they put a crown on her head. And she used to walk up and down the ramp in all the fancy clothes.
Everybody, what were you doing right now? Were you in the middle of a class?
Yes.
And what did you learn today? Not much.
What do you do today? Addition or subtraction?
I got 5 subjects correct.
Wow.
All 5? That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of hard work you put in today.
Okay, when you're speaking of 5, let's do high five.
Okay,
Ooh.
man, high five. Give a high five.
But you know, Shivani,
Oi. That's it. That's
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Five
That's
out.
but Shivani, this question of Neha, where the child doesn't eat unless until you show them some kind of thing, it's very common. But I believe in this philosophy that when the child is hungry, he is going to eat. So there's no point forcing something down to his throat and say कि चलो मेरा काम खत्म हो गया उसने एक रोटी खा ली. It's okay if he's half roti on his own or you feed him and maybe he can eat some fruit. But he has to understand that when you sit on a table to eat, it's just dinner time. It's just talking to each other. Play a game at the table where everybody's like, maybe you can play word Pictionary. Maybe you can say, okay, tell us how you planning to spend the next day, or how the lockdown has been. If the school opens, what you're going to do, the books you've read, what do you think, or you tell a story and say what do you think something's gonna happen next. So those engaging things are very essential, because if you feed someone by showing them a TV, obesity comes. There are so many other problems. You may think अच्छा उसने एक दो रोटी खा ली उसका tummy full है. A child will never go hungry.
They've not even
Trust me.
tasted the food. They've not even realized what they're eating. That beautiful goodness of that food will not even affect their body because they've not even concentrated on it. Like I said, I'm sorry if it sounds harsh, but if you're allowing that situation where you say, okay to eat your food, I'm going to put on a cartoon, I think it's the first step towards you giving up on parenting. And it really, I'm sorry, like I said, I know it comes out harsh. But
no, Rajiv, I don't want to be saying it. That's why I have all of you saying it. Because even when we do our classes, one of the things I suggested is don't let them loll on the bed. Make one corner, which is the corner where they sit and work. And the parents were so quick to take that up. And I'm noticing that children who may have been, sort of rocking on the bed or getting distracted are now focusing more. And also the other thing we do is, like Ruchi said, we don't do 20-20, we do 10-3. So we do an activity for 10 minutes and 3 minutes we have the piano playing. We have our live pianist, Mr. Dias, and he plays, and then the children are told go run and take a break and have a glass of water and come back. So the other thing that Ruchi you've done is answered Vibha's question. Her daughter Veda also has these similar issues of eating. And Rajiv, when you spoke about the goodness of food, our first speaker on the webinar was Ishi Khosla, and she spoke about this.
Yes.
So that was.
I firmly believe in it. In fact, till you don't have an awareness of what you're eating, the food does nothing for you.
Yeah. Okay, so Ramandeep is Samaira's mum, and she's saying nowadays educational apps are a trend. How helpful are they, and what is the right age to give a mobile to your kid for such apps?
So I think I answered the first question, the last part of that already, that it isn't about the right age. It's about what you're really telling them to do with it. And, on multiple studies that even I have done and multiple things that I have experimented with lots of friends who ask me this question and their kids, it truly, truly works. If you make them creators of content, they go on to do fabulous things, unbelievable things, very creative things. So the last part of it is that. The second is that we're still a little far away from all these I mean, it may be Shah Rukh Khan who may be coming on to a TV ad and saying that this educational app is fantastic, but then remember he's being paid for it and his children are not using that app for sure. And that I think is a very important part to remember, that educational apps right now are at that point where they're just starting to get the bare minimum of what is to be done. A pre-recorded lesson on an educational app is not distance learning. A pre-recorded video with great graphics, fantastic text, incredible looking sound and video production is not a one-to-one lesson. And therefore, please remember that and take that with a pinch of salt. Is it something that you shouldn't absolutely do? Well, you can, but it's not going to be very, very helpful. Will we get there? Absolutely. Between artificial intelligence, between chatbots, between some incredible work that is happening in this field, eventually educational apps will be almost as good as a one-to-one, not even a one teacher to 30, but a 1:1, where you will be able to get real answers from no one out there. So great production values along with AI as well as chatbots and that entire thing it will happen. It isn't there right now.
Well, interesting that you say that, because I mean, I always talk in our virtual learning program that the most important thing is curation. And there's so much content out there and so much just available that you can be lost in a sea of things for kids. But the way it's curated and the familiarity that the child has with it, Rajiv, when you spoke about that one-on-one interaction or one on whatever number, it is that familiarity which gives you that comfort, lets down your defenses which you have naturally to protect yourself from the environment, and allows you to start the process of learning. So that really is quite substantial what you said. Our next question is, if the current lockdown situation persists, how can we keep away the children from gadgets? And that's from Ashima, who's Suhani's mom.
So again, I think a combination of sacred places, like I said, the dinner table, like family time. If more than two people are in a room, let's please ban gadgets. You'll be shocked how quickly children take to it. You'll be shocked how quickly children love. What Ruchi said, I so totally agree. Uh, Having conversations, playing games with each other, having a conversation with each other is something the children really want. It's us that is actually not doing it. It's we people who, like you said in a previous question, the mother said, oh, there are phone calls and there are this. They will always be there. You know, at the end of the day, when you look back on the day, you'll always regret the time you didn't spend with your child, and you'll never be proud of the time you spent on your phone. Your phone call can always wait. Yes, we all believe we are the most important people in the world, but believe me, if you switch off your phone for 2 hours, you'll be shocked to know the world will continue. It will not get destroyed. It will not end. Your phone will carry on, and so will the world. So I truly believe that there are certain sacred places. There is a certain way that you can actually get screen time into your house. There is a certain amount of time where meals can be a shared family experience. And I don't think it's a if this time continues, this time will continue. It may have changes. It may have different tweaks. It may have a little bit more of us going out maybe for a shorter period of time. But this time will continue, and the lockdown will come in different forms, different phases. It may come again in an even more harsher manner, right? So therefore, this is the time for us to truly make our family. I mean, why not break the rules and be that slightly different family from everywhere else and everyone else? If everyone thinks that way, we'll all be able to do it together.
So Ruchi, I know you're cooking for your family these days. Do you involve the kids in cooking? Yeah?
Oh man.
That's a fan.
I secretly am going to put this out. No one's watching, so therefore I'll just say this. It's just you and me. People keep asking me where's the silver lining, and I keep telling them my wife's cooking. Oh my.
He's just too kind, and I guess I don't have a cook, so I have no choice just to get down to the basics and start cooking. And I'm from a person who had told my went and told his mom before marriage, ki, Mom, I don't know how to cook. And she said, don't worry, I know how to cook and I'll cook. Don't worry. You just come. I don't have a daughter and that's about it. And I was like, perfect. And, and she fed me and she was an amazing cook. And so, yes, I've been cooking and I'm thoroughly enjoying it because as I said, that I'm a strict mom. I'm very particular what to eat. Rajiv is very particular to what we're eating. So we're trying to get everything healthy because when you're at home, you tend to eat all junk. Like in our family, we don't eat junk. It's like once a month or something. And, as I said, if we are eating pizzas, so the kids will eat pizzas.
True.
If the parents are following we all, in fact, my father-in-law is also very particular. So we just doing that, and then I guess the kids are watching, but I just want to see them, tell the mothers that don't worry about the food, what your children eat, how much they eat, because when the child may not eat one meal, he's going to be fine. The next morning, he'll get up and he'll demand
Oh
food.
boy, yes.
He will just demand food and he will get to the thing. You have to set the rules. You're the mother, you're the lady of the house. Set the rules because eventually that is shaping his life. Or, you may want that 5 minutes or 10 minutes on the phone call, but you're ruining your child's life by overfeeding them or just saying usne ek meal nahi khaya hai. I give them one roti and a little bit of sabji, and if they don't want to finish full roti, it's okay, but they can have a fruit.
Yeah, because I think the evening snack, the fruit that they'll have and the dinner that they have more than compensates. And then coming back to what you said, that true goodness of the food really gets absorbed within. Both the mind and the body gets the benefit.
Well, I'm really super close to my nephew because when he was born, I was still in college. And I used to go and we used to spend a lot of time together, chitting, chatting, playing games. And our favorite game was when we used to eat food. Because I would tell him stories about Rajma, and that Rajma piece is the Sardar of the clan. And so he'll be eaten less because he'll fight for his clan. And so it was, my nephew would eat very quickly because the Rajmas had to be defeated and he had to consume them. And at the end, the last bite with the Sardar was the huge victory that he'd have. So there are stories and there are fun ways. And looking back, that gives me such a smile because it's a magical moment which cannot come back because now he's almost of the age to have his own family. Well, what if a kid watches only pertinent content on TV, of course, with a fixed time limit? How is it going to be harmful? This is Shraddha Shambhavi's mom. And we have just one question after this. I'm going to take them both together and leave these answers to you. Well, the other one is quite specific. There is suddenly a surge in getting small kids to learn coding. What is the right age to expose kids to things like coding? This is again from Ashima, Sohani's mom. Rajiv, we seem to have got stuck with a frozen image. I don't know if it's the internet on your side or my side. Okay, so I am just trying to see if we can get them back connected because they have lovely, happy faces. And when they say the frozen smile, that's what it seems to be, a frozen smile, but one that is very enchanting and engaging. So I think on this note, I'm going to thank Ruchi and Rajiv for being with us. Parents, children, and teachers, do follow us on our Instagram page, The Study India, and our Facebook page, The Study India. Also, please follow Rajiv and Ruchi. I think this has been a wonderful conversation. And if we can get them back online, I would love to have Rajiv's answer on the coding issue. Because when he was talking about content being creative, if a child is given a device and allowed to be creative on it, those are future skills which can be very useful to the child. I think in today's day and age, for everyone to have the ability to be able to create, whether it's films or highlight whatever activity or product that you want to. For example, even our virtual learning program, it needs to reach out to the children. So if they can create an awareness about it from their own skills, then in life, whatever the profession that you choose, you can create awareness and be on a virtual platform, which is really the future. Rajiv, are you back with us?
Yes, we are.
Oh, wonderful.
What is a technology event without technology failing us?
Well, I must say, you being a tech expert had your face frozen and Ruchi's face frozen with perfect smiles.
Oh, Asha, really? Okay.
Yeah.
We practice that a lot. When we freeze, we should look nice.
Okay, last question of the day. This is about coding. Coding seems to be the future. What is the age when coding should be introduced to children, and is this the skill that they need to develop?
Yeah, so this is a two-part question. Actually, usually it's always asked as a single question, but it's a two-part question. Number one, yes, coding is the future. In the same way as I talk about creation as a skill, when you're given a device, content creation as the future is a very, very important thing to remember. Coding is also something that is very, very important. But do remember that coding is not the magic pill, right? Uh, Forcing it down every child's throat is not going to work. People seem to think coding, oh my God, is the future. Everything will be about coding. If everybody's a coder, then no one's a coder. It is a special skill because it needs special interest, right? Try and introduce your child into coding. I have to say again, I'm not familiar with what your school does, but I have to say that most of the curriculum to do with, as we call it, computers in school, right, is fairly poor in India. It really doesn't take into consideration true computer skills. It's more fairly old school and doesn't really go into where it should be. And coding should be the curriculum, at least very young. And then only those children that are actually interested in it can take it forward.
But Rajiv, how young is very young?
So I would say even 4 or 5 is very good, because the first pieces of code are so simple. And when you create it, the result that comes on your screen, you'll almost know from there, is your child going to be something that is interested in coding? Coding may be just a hobby. It doesn't have to be a career. But it is going to be the future. It's something that is very, very important. But please remember, and this is where a lot of parents are so super disappointed, that their child didn't take to coding. A lot of them won't. In the same way as their child will not take to a particular subject and want to carry on for the rest of their lives, they may not take to coding. So don't think it's the miracle pill that must be ingested by everybody. Try and give them an early start. Coding is not difficult. It's the same time as they start with mathematics and addition. It's a pretty good time to actually try and do coding, because the most elementary form of coding is nothing but a little bit of 2 plus 2. There's nothing else to it. The best part is, in 2 plus 2, they have to figure out 4. In 2 plus 2 in coding, they'll actually get a result. And the input and the output is something that children love. Same way as you said, science experiments. This is another one of those. Coding is so simplistic in the beginning, and there are some children who will take to it, and you must hone that talent. But please don't be disappointed that your child is not going to be the next Facebook creator or will not be the next Uber creator. Not everyone is going to be, and that's good for us, because if everybody was a coder, then like I said, no one is.
Well, Rajiv, the most important coding is that which is said without numbers, without words. When the wife says, time's up, it's time for lunch. I'm going to say a big...
That's a code that I have to learn, yes.
Well, the cup of tea has come there to shake and say, Rajiv.
That's my second cup of tea for the day, to carry on. I cannot do tea. Like, he can technology, I cannot live without tea.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you both to please follow the Study School Instagram account. It's the Study India. And on Facebook, we are the Study School India. So the Study India and the Study School India. Please follow, and we're going to follow you, of course. I think we already are. And this conversation has been quite an eye-opener for me, especially the coding bit. I didn't realize children should be exposed as early as age 4.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You'll be surprised how some of them will take to it and love it.
Great. Well, I've loved chatting with you. I'm sure our parents have enjoyed hearing what you had to say as well. Ruchi, as always, wonderful to, even if it's just virtual, be with you. And Rajiv, I'm going to give you both that special
Yeah,
study
we done
spoon.
it with you, so it's
But
1
Shivani,
and 2.
you're absolutely amazing. I must say, I've known you for so many years, and I can feel your warmth even from this 1 inch
And
box.
the passion that she has for everything, whether she's on stage or she's having a conversation at a get together that we meet, or this, the passion always comes through. So keep that passion going. And to all the parents out there, enjoy yourself, have fun. You have the single greatest miracle and boon of all times, your children, and they're spending more time with you. This time will never come again. Enjoy it. Absolutely love it.
I would say COVID, no COVID, spend time with your family. You make so much money for your family, but you have no time. Children don't need money, they need time.
Ruchi, great words. And I'll take this opportunity to say on the 23rd of May, that's Saturday at 12:30 p.m., we're talking about raring to read a rarity. So
Wow.
join us for that.
So who is the person doing that with you? An author?
Well, there's an editor and an author, a children's author and an editor.
Fantastic. So we will join you for that, and I hope all the other parents also do.
Super. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, see you and bye. All the parents, thank you so much for joining us. Bye.